Hello everyone, I'm Xiaogang. Okay, in this lesson, we will mainly look at the characters in the Unreal framework. We need to know what several characters are included in the Unreal framework. We must understand how game mode, cap, player controller, player state, pawn, and HUD are used in our framework. Because they all start with class A, these all start with class A. It generally has this situation like game mode, which only exists on the server, while NAPTE, PlayerState, and pawn, they exist on both the server and the client simultaneously, while player controller exists on the server and its own client. They, HUE and UMG, only exist on the local client. Everyone, memorize this first. This is to be memorized directly. Just memorize this diagram directly. This must be memorized. Then here we can see this game mode only exists on the server, while GameTame, PlayerState, and Punk exist on both the server and the client simultaneously. And this player controller only exists on its own client and the server. And the corresponding HUD and UMG only exist on their own client. The PE here means that they all belong to the PE players, because you might also have P2. So if we look at it together with P2, let's take a look at this diagram. Obviously on the server, it has game mode, gas, no problem. And at the same time, it has all players player controllers, and all players player states, all players used only on the server. But if it only applies to the first client player, then its player controller exists on both the server and its own client. While HUD and UMG exist only on its own client, then its player state and pump exist on all servers and clients simultaneously, including GameState. This part is quite special. That is, in player control, it exists only on the server and its own client. And this over-inclined is equivalent to the HUD and UMG. It exists only on its own client. This player control, it is also on the server, because the server definitely has all players' controllers. As for the UI, it only needs to be on each player's client. Regarding player state and town, it is equivalent to all servers, all services, meaning all clients on the server have it. And GameState is also available on all server clients. So how do we verify it? We will write a simple demo for you here. Let's write it here. Then we will create the game mode in sequence. GameState, HUD, pawn, player controller, player state, and net UI. So let me open it up and show you. Actually, here it says I am the game mode. And here it says I am the game state. I am the HUD. And here it says I am the pawn. And here I am the player controller. How to create this pawn? We create the default one. Default, and here's the player controller. These are all relatively simple blueprint supports. And this is the player state, right? And here is our MG when constructing. We also need to do one more thing in the HUD. Let's create this here. Create UEC game. Then note that the over in color we pass here is obtained through the HUD get over in player controller. Because, you know, HUD, player controller, and player state have a one-to-one relationship, right? Each player has one set. Then here we store it in a variable, play A, and add it to the window. Okay, now let's take a look. Now we are executing it in this singleton manner. Execute in the game singleton pattern. Then see if you can understand how it works. What will it print? You can see here it prints game module, cast, pair controller, pair state, manually, HUD punk. So this is the singleton pattern. Then you can use this method to understand single player games. It is actually both the server and the client. This is a single player game. Next, we will discuss the complex multiplayer game scenario. First of all, this should be fine. We are using a map like this. These are all common operations. Then we are here. We set it to client. We only have one player now. Let me show you. You can see, right? Let's take a look here. Let's wait a moment. Let's see if it's written wrong like this. Check client. Yes, no problem. That's it. Okay, then let's take a look at what is being executed here. Because now we have essentially started a DS server. Then we started a player to connect. So you can see that at the very beginning. Let's scroll up again. Scroll up again. Roughly take a look at this position. You can see. Let's clear it like this. Let's execute it again. There might be some leftovers. Okay, then let's scroll up again. It should be here. you can see. So let's first create ADS. This is the DS's log because we are currently using it all in one process. So it's convenient for us to view the log. I am the game mode. I am the game state, right? You can see it looks like this and then like this. I am the game mode. I am the game state. Then next, a player has logged in. After logging in, there is a series of related information that is relatively low level. We'll ignore that for now. Let's look here first. After we enter, the server detects that a player has entered. It first creates the player state, then creates the player controller. Then it creates these 4 punks on the server. You can see there is a server here. They are all created on the server. Next, on the client side, because you created them on the server, these things all need to have a copy on the client. So the client creates the player controller, creates the HUD, and creates the main UI, created punk, created edit PlayerState. You will find that this place matches up with our site here. See, isn't it? That is our server. It first creates GameMode and GameState. Then when the first player enters, it will create PlayerState, then create PlayerController. On the server, create PlayerPump. Then the client sequentially creates PlayerController, PlayerState, HUD and UMG. So take another look. You'll see that this part is created on the client. These 5, right? Created these. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Right, because it has this extra UI UMG part. As for our server, it first created game instance and game mode. You can check at the very top, probably at the very top. It should be at the top. Here, it first created the game mode, GameState, so that BeginPlay executed first. Then next, you can see the client creation. Then on the server, created the player start, player controller and pawn. And this part is the client. The client essentially replicates and executes it. When the situation is more complex, we can open 2. If we open 2 players, then you can predict the result. It is a bit convoluted. Actually, looking at this diagram should make it very clear. Look at this diagram. So, after the first player enters, this instance is created. The second player also creates theirs in turn. Player controller, player state, and then player punk, and then their own HUD UMG. So we can see here, let's first look. We can scroll all the way to the top. Let's scroll all the way to the top. There are quite a few entries here. Okay, let's start lightly. Let's play it once more. Let's execute it once more. Otherwise, there are too many days. Okay, good. This is his last time. The last time is the most complex situation. Let's ignore it for now. Let's go back first. This is the first time the player enters. It's exactly the same as our previous situation. You can see, although this player state is a bit slow, it doesn't matter either. You can see the server has also created player state, player controller, and pump. Then the client creates them in sequence. Player controller UI, then pump and game state, player state. And don't try to lock onto this timing sequence. You just need to know that it has been created. If you try to lock onto this timing sequence, there will be problems. Then, in this place, let's scroll back further. We should be able to find this game mode at the location where it is created. There's the location where game mode BeginPlay executes. You can see. Then the previous flow is all the same. Then when the second player enters, it will be a bit more complicated. And don't try to match this name. Don't name it that either. Now you know that after the second player enters, then this must be the second player state. B. This is the second player's player control. P3. This is the second player's pawn. And then P2, right? Then here, you'll find it a bit confusing. Let's first look at the UI, shall we? We only created 1 UMG here, and only created 1 HUD. Obviously, this thing, it belongs to the second player. But here it will. As long as this player controller, it is also the second player. Don't look at this. Click. 0. Also, don't look at the name in front. It will mislead you. So don't look at it. Just look at the printed result. Then obviously, this player controller belongs to the second player. The client's player controller, it only prints once. On player 1's machine, and on the server's machine, it is clearly printed here on the server, and on this is on machine number 1. So it won't print this player controller. Because he's on machine number 1, there is no such player controller, only on machine number 2. Will there be a new player controller? Right, because it's player controller for player number 2. Then obviously for this player state, they are respectively player state for player number 1, created in the world of player number 2, and player state for player number 2 itself was created, then printed on player number 1 side. So, 3 player states were printed here. This is the reason. Do you understand what I'm saying? 烫照方，查一下. Don't look at this. PlayerState for now, because it's quite complex. It's completely fine for this GameState to be created only once. So, because the BeginPlay of the CapState on the server has already executed, the BeginPlay of player 1's compo has also already executed. Now, after player 2 enters, after his kmate is created, it executes the kmate, then player 2's PlayerState needs to print once locally, and then needs to print once in player 1's world. Then player 2's FAT will print once locally, and will also print once in player 1's world. Then player 1's PlayerState needs to print once in player 2's world. This FAT 1 of player 1 will also win once in player 2's world. So here you will have 3 IM FAT. They are player 2 won twice, player 1 won once, 3 player stays. So obviously player 2 won twice, once in their own world, once in player 1's world. And player 1's player stay also wins once in player 2's world. So this part is very confusing. You must understand it very clearly. This is the diagram. Okay, everyone should be able to understand now. You can understand this diagram, right? You must have a deep understanding of this diagram because this is very basic. Then, to make it easier for everyone to see, we can make a simple adjustment to this thing. I'll take this response time and make it a bit longer. Let's set it to 20 seconds. I'll adjust it uniformly here. We'll demonstrate other methods in a moment. Okay, let's start simply here. I'll take this time. Make this time a bit longer to make it easier for everyone to see. It doesn't matter if it's 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Let's take this thing. Let's change it first. Let's change it back to a single one. Then we have an advanced setting here. There is a play option here. We have an option here called run under one process. You might have some questions. Let's do it like this. Let's launch it. Then let's start it up. Okay, you can see that a separate DS server has been launched here. Then here you'll notice only the server log is printed here. And we found this place in the upper left, winning the client's day. It should be visible, this person, for everyone to see more clearly what exactly is this thing about. Right, it should be completely consistent with our theory. You can see. So if we change this to 2 here, you can see. Of course, there are many debugging options here. You can all look for them later in your own development process. Okay. Alright, you can see over here. There are 2 player states here. Right, there are 2 pumps. Right, there is a game state and a set of UI. And a controller. Look here, isn't it the same? There are 2 player states. 2 pumps, 1 game state, 1 H, 1 set of UI, 1 controller. You can get my point, right? Because we were just looking at the log. The log mixes the things from 3 processes all together. You can't see it clearly enough. Let's watch it again now. Watch it again. This is our DS. You can see. Observe this log. See? 2 player states. 1 is for player 1. 1 is for player 2. Then 2 fat ones. 1 is for player 1. 1 is for player 2. Then 1 player control is for the local machine. Go a set of OR, HUD, and manual. Then GameState comes from the server. So obviously we are here. It can be just the servers here. You can see this group of objects on the server. This is this group of objects on the server. We can look further up. So can this thing be completely aligned with us? It should be possible. You should now fully absorb and understand this thing. Okay, so we'll stop here for this lesson. Okay, thank you everyone.